Views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the participants. The hosts make no claim to be literary experts, and their opinions are exactly that, opinions. All creative works discussed or reviewed are the intellectual property of the creators of said stories and is being used under the Fair Use Doctrine.
Welcome to Of Swords and Soulmates, a podcast where we read, watch, and discuss romantasy stories. I'm one of your hosts, Mari, and with me I have Kelly.
Hey everyone, it's Kelly. Of course we have Ashley.
Hi everyone, it's Ashley. We also have Jonathan.
What's good, it's JP? Oh, I'm living the dream.
But today, JP is not doing the caboose. We have two...
Not the caboose. Not at the back of the bus today, folks.
Nope.
They've given me a promotion.
Yes, you're now in the middle. We have two guests with us. We have Summer and Becky.
Hello.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about everybody first, because obviously it's Summer and Becky's first time here, and you guys might be wondering why we have two strangers on the podcast. So Summer and Becky have a business called Summer Reading Club.
Summer Reading Creations.
Summer Reading Creations, so sorry. Summer Reading Creations, and I ran into them at a non-book event thing at a fall festival. I was with some other friends. We went to coffees. We went and got coffees. We did thrift shopping, and then we're like, oh, there's a fall festival. Let's go there too. And then I saw books, and everything was... So Summer and Becky are going to tell us a little bit more about their business and what all they do on the rapid fire segment. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But for now, they're going to hang out with us and talk through some of the new stuff and some of the book review stuff, and we'll go from there. So the book that we're going to be discussing today is The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. But first, as always, some news. So something I did not have on my bingo card for 2024 is that Bram Stoker would drop a new short story. Don't know about you guys.
How's he doing? How's he doing? He's still
real dead. He's real dead.
Oh.
So if you don't know, Bram Stoker wrote Dracula, like, I don't know, 1890s or something? Long time ago. So apparently there was a guy named Brian Cleary. He's an amateur historian and a Bram Stoker fan who basically had some hearing loss and had to like take some time off work and everything, and decided he was going to hang out in the Stoker, like, I don't know, museum or wherever they keep like his works and everything. And he found this short story that he'd never heard of before, that he'd never heard anybody reference before. It's called Gibbet Hill. It was written in 1890. And he like checked it out with the official historian for Bram Stoker, like the person who wrote the biography or whatever. And all this happened October of last year. And so it all got verified. And so then the big Bram Stoker festival they released it this year. So like the new Bram Stoker short story dropped in 2024.
What a time to be alive.
Right?
He's dead. We just covered that.
Well,
actually.
but I'm
He's
just
not
saying,
even alive.
like, for the rest of us, who'd have thunk? Look at us.
How
Look at
very
us.
undead
Look
Dracula vampire is that? Like, even from beyond the grave, he's dropping new stories, right?
It's full circle. He is the undead.
Full circle.
What? It's like Tupac.
Bram Stoker's undead.
But imagine being an amateur historian and finding that. That's career breaking.
Yeah, and like that's a person who you like and admire and everything, and now you will forever be a part of his history because you're the person that found that short story. It was a really cool story.
Yeah, it's like going to yard sales and with your sole purpose of getting like a really terrible painting, but hopefully the Declaration of Independence is in the
it's
back.
Like those people who find Da Vinci's, right, in the back of other paintings or whatever.
That's me. That's why I keep buying all these crazy dogs playing poker stuff.
The dream.
You never know.
You never know what was painted over, making fun of Warhol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other thing I saw, that was like the big thing. But there's some other stuff I saw. Illumicrate, which is another like one of those services that like you can subscribe to and you get a book a month, and they do like special editions. So Illumicrate is doing a special edition of House of Flame and Shadow, which is book 3 of the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. It is It's a popular series. I can't say much. It took me 9 months to read the first book, and I'm on the second book now, and we're like on month 2. So they're chunky, and they're very different from the rest of her works.
Are they entertaining, or are they just thick with like 2 C's?
I feel like they're a lot like the Sarah J. Maas MO, which is basically they kind of drag a little in the middle, and then at the end, like all the shocking stuff happens at the end. And that's fine for like a 300-page book, but when you get into like these 700-page like tomes,
I remember when you read ACoTaR and we were like,
you
the
could
last
skip a whole bunch of stuff.
third
You need to be a good. You got to be a good word skipper to get. Maybe that's the key. Maybe it's like read the first 100 pages, people.
Selective reading.
Then like spot read for the next 400, and then dig in for the long haul.
Yeah, it's
It's not always easy to do the first go around though.
Right.
So sometimes those chunky books, those world builders, right?
Do we own this book?
No, I don't have.
Okay, I'm looking at your shelf. It looks like you got some. It looks like you got some hefty.
I think I have the first Crescent City, but I haven't.
It looks
gotten
like
a second
it looks
or
like
a third.
Equal. I mean, so this. I'm not gonna lie. This speaks to me. Here's why it speaks to me. It's a bargain. So your words per dollar count, it goes up.
No, now we just buy things because they're pretty.
Yeah.
It's adult money.
Now I gotta say,
we're
all
good at
three,
making those
even
mistakes.
the regular versions of these books are pretty. Like their covers are really pretty.
Yeah.
So basically, the settings are more of like a modern setting. So it's like a modern feel, modern world. Like there's cell phones, there's clubs, there's that kind of a vibe. But
really,
but there's also like paranormal things. So it feels like a paranormal story. So there's
I like contemporary stuff.
There's witches, there's werewolves, there's vampires, there's angels, there's demons, there's like archangels, there's sprites and enchanted fairy things. Yeah, so it's a lot to absorb all at once because I've read the ACoTaR series and I've read Throne of Glass, and so I'm trying to figure out how this figures in to everything, because that's I wanted to read it because it's Sarah J. Maas and I want to read everything she's written to be a completionist, to have an opinion about it. And I liked ACoTaR and I liked Throne of Glass, but I also kept hearing that they're interconnected. The stories are interconnected eventually or something. Have you guys read them?
So I haven't, just because I've been so intimidated by Sarah J. Maas, but you're kind of selling it, to be honest.
Yes, because isn't there 8?
Stick around long enough. We'll sucker you. That's called a sucker pack.
It is.
My husband is king of them.
Sucker packs.
We'll talk you into it if you
get
need
just the first one.
excuse
Just
or
get
someone
the
to
first
blame.
one's just a little taste,
Do we have the first one on Audible?
and then you're
Listen
hooked.
to it.
Yeah,
They do.
it'd be a long listen for
Of
sure.
the ACoTaR, the first one is on Audible.
Okay. So yes, so there's the 3 series: ACoTaR, Crescent City, and Throne of Glass. So I read ACoTaR first. Have you guys read any Sarah J. Maas?
No.
Okay, I read ACoTaR first. We just read ACoTaR as a pod. I really like the ACoTaR series. However, this is saying as someone who likes the ACoTaR series, the first book in the ACoTaR series is the weakest of the bunch. So please don't judge the whole series by it. At least read the second one before you decide to, But I really like the series. I think she does a really good job of misdirecting you and pulling you in and making you. I really can't say a lot because Ash and I have read beyond the first one, but Kelly and Jonathan have not.
Do
And
not
you guys
let
have
them
not.
peer pressure you into reading these books.
Absolutely peer pressure
Yes,
you
do
if you
it.
stick around long enough. Sorry
Do
in
it,
advance.
do it. One of us.
One of
Or
us.
the other thing too is the Throne of Glass series, which Ash, you haven't read any of, right?
I have not.
Okay.
No.
So Throne
I'm
of Glass.
scared.
That's the less chunky series so far, right?
No.
The books are less chunky, but there are more books.
Oh,
That's true.
So, but the Throne of Glass is a complete series. She started writing Throne of Glass when she was 16 years old. It is, to me,
You can tell because it takes about that long to read it.
No, it is not. You haven't read them.
How long have you been reading it,
No.
Mari?
Which one?
That one.
The Throne of Glass? I read all of Throne of Glass in 1 month.
Really?
Yeah. In March.
That's a
March
record.
Of this year, I read
That is
every
lightning
single Throne of
fast.
Glass
That's a
book.
record.
Aren't there
How
5
many?
of them?
There's 7 of them. I read it in 1 month. I was like, I'm going to read ACoTaR this month, not realizing how many books, not ACoTaR, I'm sorry, Throne of Glass this month, not realizing how many books there were, and that there's some weird reading order thing between book 5 and 6 that you have to skip chapters back and forth and everything else. I really enjoyed Throne of Glass. Crescent City's the one that's been taking me forever. It's Crescent City took 9 months for the first book. That tells you a difference. Like I've read, I don't know, 180, 190 books this year. So I'm not a slow reader. And it still took me that long.
That was a nice humble brag.
It was not.
Just drop that in there real quick.
It was.
Oh, I've only read 180 something
I
books
didn't
this
say
year so
only.
far. But I'll get to 200 easily. Don't worry.
Yeah, I've read the titles of at least 200 books with you.
What I'm saying is, it's that it took me 9 months, not because I'm a slow reader. It just had a hard time getting into the characters and getting into the world with Crescent City. However, Throne of Glass. Okay, so to me, ACoTaR is like stereotypical romantasy series. It is like bread and butter romantasy. If you want a romantasy series, that's it. It has all the things, all the hits you think of for a romantasy series, stereotypical. Throne of Glass is often said to be a romantasy series because it's written by Sarah J. Maas. But in my opinion, I think it's way more fantasy. Like it's got some romance in there, but I think it's way more of a fantasy series. I think it's just because she was known for ACoTaR. They're like, oh, this is romantasy too. And I think that if like, I don't know, George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss or Brandon Sanderson had written Throne of Glass, it would be labeled a fantasy book. But the thing with Throne of Glass is like, it's like you're reading the first, I think, 3 books are much more small world. Like it's very much what's in her immediate area. There's not a lot in the rest of the world. But then by the end of the series, you've got Throne of Glass style, multiple countries, multiple armies, multiple battles, multiple things happening all at the same time. And it pulls together into like a big, thing that happens in the last book. I hear a lot of people describe it as like, it's one series, but it's almost like 2 series in one. Because the first few are very much like a coming of age kind of thing. And then the rest, it's like more of a fantasy world that you think of as far as like fantasy stories.
If she started soon. Yeah. She's really selling it.
I know.
It's a commitment, though, guys.
That's what
That's
I'm
all.
intimidated by.
You just gotta
It's
commit.
so much.
How long did it take us to start Fourth Wing after you bought them books?
A minute.
We only read them as quick as we did because I was in a terrible reading slump and didn't read for a week and a half. And then we just kind of
spiraled. Within days, though, it was done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are fast.
But it took us like mentally so long to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But also because we have to wait until January.
I know.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling.
Yes. Okay, so Illumicrate doing the House of Flame and Shadows, book 3 of Crescent City. It is £40. That's what it said on the website because even though I
The
put
price
US,
or the weight?
the price. Even though I put US and it said US at the top, it was giving me the price in pounds. So whatever £40 is in dollars, plus shipping. It will be shipping in February or March of 2025. And the sales begin the 21st of November for all of us who don't have Illumicrate subscriptions, and the 19th of November for people who have Illumicrate subscriptions and or who bought the first 2 books from them. They're giving those people priority, which is cool, I guess, if you want the set to all match. I'm fine with the regular. Just FYI for people out there. The other, also SJM-ish news, is that there is a Valaris Advent calendar out there that I didn't know existed, and it is done by this company that does like officially licensed Sarah J. Maas and a few other authors like jewelry. So like really pretty. And so the calendar's got jewelry in it. Between the time that I found this news and us talking about it today, it's now sold out. It was $198 and it's sold out.
Oh,
But
It was
like,
also UK based, wasn't it?
it looks very
the
delightful.
company's
though.
Italian, so definitely European based. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a little wintry village.
Yeah, little
is what it
village.
looks
It
like.
looks really cute. And then there's like jewelry inside. There is like a mailing list. So I don't know if they're going to do more or if that just gets you on the list for like next year. So, I mean, I think you probably get your money's worth looking at the price of the stuff that they sell. And some of their stuff is really.
Oh yeah, no, this looks really cute. A good second place to this, if you're looking for like an alternative, would be that Gilmore Girls calendar, the Advent calendar that I see on the TikToks.
Oh, I haven't seen that
I
one.
haven't seen it.
I'm a big Gilmore Girls fan. I know that's a very
Neither am I.
controversial opinion.
Points off.
I know.
This is really cute, though.
Yeah.
Even if I weren't a SJM fan, I honestly would consider purchasing it.
I think they've got a few other, is it Caraval? I think they've got some jewelry. They have a few other series that I've not read, but I know like they have Throne of Glass and ACoTaR. And I think some Crescent City stuff.
What it is you read one chapter a month, and then you're able to open up one of these boxes, and that's how you effectively get through one of her books.
I mean, maybe, but you still wouldn't be done through the book. 12 chapters is not going to get you.
You got to go next year, too. That's what I'm saying. It's like every year.
All right. The other thing I had, we've talked about some, is that the third Assistant to the Villain book title has been released and the date. So it's going to be coming out September 25th of 2025, and it's going to be called Accomplice to the Villain.
Clever.
Yes.
That you can see the progression.
Yeah. Very exciting. Summer and Becky, have you guys read any of her books?
I was looking. I don't think
but
so.
they're both in my KU library right now. I want to read them so bad.
They're fun reads. They're like
They are.
It feels like a rom-com, like a magical rom-com.
Yeah. It's like Groot meets Fourth Wing. Like, like the Minions meets Fourth Wing.
Also, Ruby Dixon, who we've talked about before, she did the Ice Planet Barbarians series. She released these like free, over the past few days has been releasing every day a little short story snippet in the Ice Planet Barbarians world, and it's like Halloween stories. And it's now released as a KU, like Kindle Unlimited, or you can buy the book novella.
Oh.
It's called Barbarian's Treat, and it's like all the Ice Planet Barbarians and the kids and the whole tribe or whatever doing like Halloween on the not Hoth planet. I think it looks cute. I think it looks very cute. Have you guys, Summer, Becky, have you guys read any of the Ice Planet Barbarian books?
No, I actually don't even think I've heard of Ruby Dixon.
So I think Ice Planet Barbarians is like the main thing she's known for. She's written like 1 billion books. They're high spice, so which I like.
Yes.
The Ice Planet Barbarians books are very much like easy palate cleanser, repetitive, but they also tell like this overarching story of the whole tribe. So you still get like, if you get each story is very much a romance book. There's going to be happily ever after. There's going to be something in the middle, and then they'll get together or whatever. But all the while, you're also like finding out what happens with some of the other characters from the books, because they're all in a tribe. Like they all basically still interact with each other. It's sci-fi, but it's like sci-fi only in the way Star Wars is sci-fi. And like, because they're aliens, the Ice Planet Barbarians are aliens. But yeah, it's a very, very light, fun. It's a good winter read because it's on an ice planet.
I actually think I have seen some of her works on Kindle now that I'm looking through them.
Mm-hmm. They're all on Kindle Unlimited. Yeah. Is there anything else news-wise?
We have just a little bit. It's a feel-good story. There was an author out of Utah who decided as a way to pay off her family's medical debt, she would write a book. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? So 39 days is what it took her to get this book kind of churned out, and she used her local community to kind of help get things rolling. But it's paid off. I believe there was some sort of like preemptive order that ends up helping her out financially in the long run, which was pretty, to me, I think that's just pretty remarkable. If anybody's sitting around thinking, hey, what can I want to write a book, but I'm not sure I can do it. I'm here to tell you, you can. 40 days, less than 40 days. And I fully expect you all to write books for me in the next month and a half.
Sure.
It's interesting. I was reading a little bit about her background. It doesn't necessarily align with romantasy, but the book seems to be, and I don't quite have a feel for it. If it's,
what's her name?
Oh, her name is Sarah Wilson. Soraya Wilson.
Sierra?
Sariah.
Oh,
Wilson.
Soraya?
Soraya. Yeah.
Seems legit.
Yeah. If I'm mispronouncing your name, you can call me and correct me. My name is Kelly. I point all your
Do you know what
all your
the
emails to him.
is?
The book is A Tribute to Fire.
Okay, yeah.
And it's basically about a princess in a dying desert nation that's been cursed by an earth goddess, and there's this like event, some sort of race where you're forced to compete in a life and death event to reach this goddess's temple.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of a millennium, no maiden has made it out alive. But this year, the Leah the princess, is one of the hunted. So it
looks like Jennifer Armentrout is like one of the people who has given it accolades. So that's a pretty big name. Anything else news-wise? All right. So moving on to the book, The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. I believe this was a Jonathan pick, right? Didn't you choose this, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think partly because I fell in love with Abigail at that event. And it was a pretty book. It's a very pretty book. Although the dust jacket is prettier than the actual cover, but it's better. The cover on this one's better than a lot of other covers. So very stoked.
We were influenced.
Very heavily influenced.
Yeah, Abigail Owen was at the Fabled Fantasy event. Super nice. Really fun to talk to. And that was one of the things I think we liked so much about that event is you could just walk up and talk to people, to these authors, and they can pitch their books, and we can give them all our money.
She was sparkly there, too.
She was very sparkly. Okay, so this book was published this year, September 17th, 2024. It is brand new, brand spanking new. I'm going to read the synopsis even. I'm going to read the synopsis, and then we can get into it. The gods love to play games with us mere mortals, and every 100 years we let them. I have never been favored by the gods, far from it, thanks to Zeus. Living as a cursed office clerk for the Order of Thieves, I just keep my head down and hope the capricious beings who rule from Olympus won't notice me. Not an easy feat, given San Francisco is Zeus's patron city, but I make do. I survive, until the night I tangle with a different god. The worst god, Hades. For the first time ever, the ruthless mercurial king of the underworld has entered the crucible, the deadly contest the gods hold to determine a new ruler to sit on the throne of Olympus. But instead of fighting their own battles, the gods name mortals to compete in their stead. So why in the underworld did Hades choose me, a sarcastic nobody with a curse on her shoulders, as his champion? And why does my heart trip every time he says I'm his? I don't know if I'm a pawn, bait, or something else entirely to this dangerously tempting god. How can I, when he has more secrets than stars in the sky? Because Hades is playing by his own rules, and death will win at any cost.
Ooh, I just got the chicken skin.
Right? So what do we think overall? Overall rating, overall vibes, non-spoilery. Who wants to go first?
I nominate Becky.
I haven't read it.
Oh, Becky, what do you think of the description?
Wonderful. I'm going to listen on the way home, actually. Turn it on the way home. We can listen to it.
Summer, you got some of the way through.
I got all the way up to, I think it was like chapter 45. So I'm in love with Hades, all across. This is my first non-spoilers.
Yeah, we'll get to spoilers in a sec. It was good.
What I've read, it was really good.
I will say, if you like Hades, if you haven't read Neon Gods by Katie Roberts, that series, I would recommend it. It's high spice, but it's good. But also, if you do graphic novels, Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe is like a modern. It's what got me into Greek gods, because I didn't really get into them as like a kid or anything. Like that graphic novel got me into stuff, and then Jonathan and Ash got me Neon Gods. It's been downhill since. So, I guess I'll go next. Non-spoilery. This is Greek gods. This is a modern kind of retelling of Greek gods, so it's not set in like ancient Greece or anything. I thought the main character, Chiki, was very sassy, and I liked her from the get-go. Her brand of like sassiness just hit for me. I feel like it was kind of a Neon Gods, Lore Olympus meets Hunger Games. People were saying, like a lot of people have been comparing it to the Percy Jackson series, but I didn't read that, so I can't compare it to that. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I gave it a 5 stars.
Ooh, nice.
High praise.
Mm-hmm.
High praise come from you. Yeah.
We don't give out 5 stars lightly, girls.
No.
Just so that you're aware.
Have you ever seen the Great British Baking Show? Those 5 stars are like a handshake.
Yeah, it's a handshake from old Blue Eyes. Absolutely, no soggy bottoms here.
Wait, did you see that he's doing shoulder pats now? It's a whole new game out there, guys. I'll go next.
Yes.
I think it was a solid 4, if not a 5. I maybe had a couple of complaints. Like I thought, some things were sped up, like that we lost some context in that part. But I appreciated the world building. I can see the Percy Jackson vibes just because I think Percy Jackson in a non-adult way kind of brought a lot of those Greek mythology stories to the modern world, right? So Neon Gods is not for everyone, right? But Percy Jackson can be for everyone. So I can see whichever commenter made that, I can see where they're coming from, having read and watched all the Percy Jackson stuff. I think the only reason I didn't give it a 5 is because we are now going through withdrawals. So we're not going to be able to read book 2 probably for some time. And I'm assuming this is a series. I believe she's called it as such.
It's a series.
Yeah.
Crucible series.
And so it has more to do with me than it does with the story. I enjoyed this a lot. I devoured it pretty quickly over the course of a few days.
Yeah, your word skipping.
There were
though.
some late nights. I am not a word for simmer down.
Oh, yeah.
How
What was
fast
the
do
word on page
you set
72?
your audiobooks to, Jonathan? What speed?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to?
Wait, no, it's not his turn yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
Okay,
get
I'll
your
let you go.
turn.
I'm going to sit back here for a little bit. Go ahead.
You just do that. And so it was a 4.5 for me because I felt there were some parts of the story that were expedited. I can see the necessity of it. It doesn't mean that I liked that part, but I will probably reread it, especially when it comes time for more stories. And so at that point, I will probably bump it up to a 5 when I have more to read and more perspective.
Is it on me? Is that what we're hanging out for?
Yeah, that's been the
right.
pattern we've been doing.
So my bad. All right, let's dive right in here. I found this to be a delightful treat. A delightful treat. It was fun. It kept me entertained. I like short chapters. This was definitely like it ticked all those boxes. Ashley's right. It did kind of, the pace of the book it left me wanting a little more in it. But at the end of the day, I was excited. I felt all the way through.
Excited to read.
I felt excited to read.
Welcome to the cult, sir.
And so, Mari, yes, I do read with my ear holes. But for this book, since we own so many copies of it already, we got hers, and then another,
and then the author's signature.
Yeah. So for this one, I did immersive reading. So basically, Becky and Summer, what I did was I locked myself into the sauna, and I did a read along with it, and I thought it was it forced me to pay a little bit more closer attention to it. So
slowed him down.
I don't know if it slowed me. I mean, maybe a tick. Maybe it slowed me down a tick. Maybe 10% slower than normal.
Thursday, he was like, I don't know if I'm going to finish this. We might need to delay. And I was like, what are you talking about? You've been reading this every night before bed, I thought. And I think it was only because we had a long road trip this weekend that you knocked it out. You were just reading it slower than you normally would.
No, because I like to do annotations when I do immersive reading, and I couldn't do annotations in the car. So
what's your score?
I'm giving it a 5. I don't think have I given a book 5?
I don't know that you've
this one right now. This one tops my list of 2024 reads.
Okay.
Honestly, it climbed pretty close to me too.
Yeah.
Just from what I've already, and again, I didn't read, I listened, but yeah.
Kelly.
So if I had a nickel for every Hades and Persephone retelling we've read so far, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange that we've had 2 in 18 books or 17 books in one movie.
Have we read more Hades and Persephone retellings, or have we read more Beauty and the Beast retellings? I wonder.
Beauty and the Beast, I think. How many Hades and Persephone retellings did we read? Just one besides this?
No.
Yes,
Ivy
and Bone.
Was there? Yeah, you're right. Ivy and Bone in this one. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I don't know what it is about the romantasy genre that apparently attracts everyone to want to write Hades and Persephone or Beauty and the Beast. It seems like that's all there is. So
2 love stories of the times.
For the ages. So what'd you think, Kel?
I thought the book was an interesting take on the Greek and Roman gods interfering in mortal lives or continuing to interfere in mortal lives. It was a strange way of having juxtaposition with modern times in there, and the gods being all powerful, even though we had sufficiently advanced technology. And I thought it was interesting that they hinted that there were other pantheons of gods that were involved, other than the Greek and Roman gods. They sort of hinted that there were Asian gods that were also hanging around and interfering and stuff.
Like the Norse gods were mentioned too. Right?
And the Norse gods were mentioned. What I find interesting that I would have loved to see explore in this world is what happened to Christianity.
Yeah.
Because Christianity was probably the big driving force that eliminated the Greek and Roman gods worship, eliminated Norse mythology, and stuff like that. So it would have been interesting had the author explored what happened to Christianity and what the role of Christianity was.
I wonder if Abigail Owen was going to be at Fable Family next year. Maybe that can be the question if she's going to be back.
That's a dangerous question. It's a dangerous question. I mean, the gods are immortal, right? Jesus clearly bit the dust. That's probably what happened. He was like Jesus was a one and doneer. That's all I'm saying. He checked out.
I don't know. I thought it was a good book, but it wasn't something that was, oh my God, good. It's definitely not my favorite book that we've read as a podcast. So I gave it a 3.5. I really wanted to give it a 4, but like has already been said, I felt there were parts that were extremely rushed. Like I almost feel like in some parts of it, maybe the author was trying to hurry things along.
I wonder too if I may have set you up for failure because I finished it before Kelly did. A lot of twists and turns at the end. I was gasping. I was like, it was very telenovela for me. I was like, what? And so I think I may have built up some of that for Kelly, but I couldn't help it. It was twisty turny for me. All right, so spoiler parts.
Spoiler.
So from this point forward, we will be discussing spoilers. If you do not wish to be spoiled about this book, then you should skip to the end.
All right, spoilery things. Any spoilery overall things anybody wants to talk about?
Okay, so I felt like when we got to the point where she was unconscious for 2 weeks and missed 3 of the events, it felt like that was the author moving the story along, almost like the author realized, holy crap, I'm spending way too much time going into these events, or the author saying, I really can't come up with something good for these other 3 events. So we're just going to do a whole skip them and talk about them, have Hades tell her later what happened in those events. So it felt very rushed. And you knew that in the final event that something was going to change in the rules, because it had to still be there some tension for the possibility of her to win. So of course, Zeus was going to make his event worth 3 times as many points, or something similar was going to happen. Because if you don't have that coming in the story, you have no reason to root for the character to win, because there's no way she can win the event. So what tension is there if there's no way she can win the event?
And because Zeus is an asshole. Zeus is always an asshole.
Which is a convenient excuse for him to award 3 points to it, but it still felt very much like this was an expected plot twist. This wasn't a surprise.
See, for me, what I thought was going to happen was that she was going to, because she was so depressed and everything at that point, I thought she was going to give up or get hurt and either die, or they think she's died or something. I thought that's when Hades was going to go all I'll burn the world, like what the vision was. That's what I was expecting to have happen. And then she was going to have to push through it to make him stop. That's where I thought the tension was going to come.
And we have yet again the fulfillment of the female main character being turned into a fae, or turned into a goddess, or turned into a princess, or turned into whatever.
It's
like every fairy tale.
It is the bangening.
There was no bangening.
There was a bangening.
No, there was no bangening.
She banged. They banged. She became a goddess.
That's not how that worked. She died, and then he gave his crown to her. That's the bangening is fucking the magic on. There was no he did not use his dick to flip that switch. Becky, Summer, I apologize. Have you listened to our show in the past?
A few episodes. Yeah.
All right, cool.
They knew what they were getting into. Yeah.
All right, cool. You guys gave her the good old JP warning, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta say, and I don't know where to put this in other than the overall world building, I fucking loved the dog Cerberus, how they had it personified with the 3 personalities, and just everything about Cerberus was enough to give it an extra star in my book.
We love a side character.
Love.
Have you did you listen to the book at all, Mari?
No, I read it.
Oh, if you get the chance to listen, just to like listen to Russ, because Russ is like, hey,
He's dopey.
he's like Ed from like the hyenas from
Oh,
The Lion
yeah.
King. He's like Ed. Yeah, he's just running around.
That's the voice I kind of
like-
pictured in my head. It was very
Yeah.
derpy. Anything else overall before we get into the world building?
No, I think my thoughts with align with Kelly, where it felt a little rushed in that like later third, at the beginning of the third of the book. It felt a little like hurried, and it left me wanting more.
There's something about the pacing, I think, that in some ways reminded me, and I know, I don't think you've read it, Jonathan. I know Kelly hasn't, but I know Ash and I have read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. There's something about the pacing that kind of reminded me of some of the challenges in that. Did you get that, Ash?
I mean, I didn't get that. I don't even know. I think Jonathan labeled it well for me, is that it left me wanting. I don't think it ruined anything for me, but it did feel a little rushed. But like, not for nothing, again, we just saw her at the panel, and she specifically was telling us, like how rapidly these authors are putting out books, to appease the masses, basically. And so I'm sure that there was life and deadlines in things that impacted that. I think, whether or not we all felt it, that part was also necessary too, to see Hades' commitment to her in her surviving, for more reasons than one. So I didn't lose anything from, not completing some of the trials. Yeah, it was a good tone. I appreciated the tone of the book. There was a lot happening, but it wasn't super dense and hard to read. I did take it like, kind of like What's Her Name from Assistant to the Villain. Like, it was just, it was an easy, happy read, and I was happy to read it and like stay up until 2 a.m. a couple of nights.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, I really enjoyed the book. She has no notes from me. I was super stoked.
As far as world building, actually, you know what? Let me let Summer and Becky, if you want to weigh in on, I know you haven't finished it, but if you want to weigh in on like the world building, fantasy, any of that stuff.
The fantasy element, I think it did really well from what I read so far. The only thing I really struggled with overall was I'm so loyal to Persephone that though I know she's gone, she's not around, it was still so hard because I really liked the female character and I liked her sass, as we put it. So it was hard because in the back of my brain, I was like, you're not Persephone. So that was difficult to wrap my head around for a bit. But other than that, no complaints so far. It was a really like in-depth world building, I think, in the beginning.
At one point, I thought that maybe the main character was going to be Persephone because there was so sketchy on like building her backstory, and there was so little that she remembered. I was like, maybe this is an amnesia like story or something. Maybe they spelled her,
or like a reincarnation.
Yeah, or a reincarnation, something like that.
And then
like,
she was wiped. Like when she was picked, they couldn't find any information on her. Yeah.
And like, it's a world where cell phones and internet and stuff exist, but because she's in this thieves guild thing, she doesn't have an online presence. I'm like,
and his immediate draw to her as well.
Yeah.
I was like, that's only reserved for Persephone.
So I think I started to head down that road about halfway through the book, where it was like, I thought to myself, okay, this is how he's going to bring Persephone back, is he's using her. She's unlovable. It's so nobody's going to miss her. So she will be the vessel in which Persephone returns, right? And maybe he's just like, I got to bring her back. Okay, this is cool. I need a vessel to do. Funsies, keep reading because Persephone's not dead.
Yeah.
I'm invested.
Yeah.
We don't get a return, but she's not. She's still a factor.
Right.
Is
She
probably
still
the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But this is a twist that diverts from the Hades and Persephone's retelling. Is that Persephone is like a sibling.
A platonic.
Yeah,
it's like a
it's
little
not.
sister
It's not
relationship.
it's not a lover's tale.
It's a love, but it's not a
between them.
romantic love.
Correct. Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
It's interesting. So it's not like Lyra is the other woman.
Right.
She's still like
the
this,
only woman. Yes.
I didn't know how to feel about Hades, like, is he using her to get what he needs
you were
done?
fully convinced he was using her.
I'm still not unconvinced either.
Yeah,
like legit, still not. Still, like, it's. I mean,
in the car,
we're still
it was
with
really hard to shut up, guys, because he had big feelings, and I was just like, "You're in for it, sir."
Because even like at the end, right? So it's at the end of it. It was. It felt like a setup still. Like, even down to that very last page, it felt like
because I'm just like, why didn't he tell her everything then? If you're really together, if you're really in it, why are you still keeping secrets? Kelly, you were going to say something?
I found it interesting that Hades is doing this whole secret that Persephone is not his lover. It's like more like a little sister to him. But apparently all the other gods think that Hades and Persephone were lovers, and he hasn't bothered to correct any of them, including Persephone's mom.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder which, like, Greek myth is this going with? Is this going with the whole, like, Persephone and Hades were supposedly lovers, or is this going with the whole Hades raped Persephone and drug her to the underworld version of the story? Like, what is the story in that world?
Well, it did have mention about her being trapped in the underworld in this one versus all the others where she's choosing to stay. So it may be leaning towards the latter.
Which it kind of goes into the whole, like, persona Hades puts on as being this big bad guy. But once again, like, to what end?
That's always a Hades MO, is to be secretive and reclusive.
Yeah.
No matter.
I was just going to say, like, it's no one else's business. Like, in my head, if Persephone's pissed off at her mom, which is arguably a theme in a lot of retellings, and or if Persephone was wronged in the god or human world, which again is a common theme that we've seen throughout the years. And if she ended up in the underworld under his protection, I mean, that's not Demeter's business. You know, that's not Zeus's business. And their being in love or having a relationship would probably further protect her, is my thought process, especially going down, you know, the mental thought process that is Rachel Smythe, right?
Yeah,
like
the Lord Olympus.
What Persephone went through. So I could see him sucking it up to an extent, right? And say, well, fuck it. If they think we're in a relationship, that just makes you
more protected,
less vulnerable,
right?
More protected. That was my thought process. Like, I don't doubt that he's holding secrets. And again, not for nothing, you're talking about millennia of Hades just doing it himself, or at best doing it with Persephone. Just because you're in love, you don't drop all those secrets in a month.
Yeah, it's true.
So where are you putting the world building, Ash?
What do you mean?
What score are you giving it for world building?
Oh, world building
or fantasy?
Well, Mari goes first on.
I'm sorry,
Mari. Back to Mari.
I gave it a 4. I thought it did a pretty decent job of doing the whole modern Greek world pretty well. I thought it did a really interesting job of interweaving things from our world. Like, there was a quote from Shakespeare. There was a little line about Beauty and the Beast's library. There was, like, it did, this is a new word for me, so I'm going to use it. The intertextuality of bringing in.
Don't you use multi-syllabic words on my brain.
There's a Scrabble word for you. Of bringing in, like, other texts into the one text. So it's pulling in and referencing. So I thought it did a good job of that, which kind of gave you a more comfortable vibe. It felt like our world in a lot of ways, in enough ways that, you know, it made it easier to understand the rest. Yeah, I thought it was a 4. I thought it was good. It was slightly better than I expected it to be. That's why I'm giving it a 4. Ash, I think you were next.
Yeah, I would agree with the 4. And again, it's not because I think anything was wrong or missing. I thought it was adequately blended for this modern retelling that includes technology, but also ancient gods. There was a lot of visualization that I captured, you know, with how she described and explained things. I felt immersed. And again, this wasn't a dense read. It was a thick read, but it wasn't hard to process. Could there have been more? Man, maybe, but it probably would have taken away from the rest of the story. Right. We've read other Abigail Owens books that left us like lacking, you know, less impressed. And so I thought this was a major progression, you know, in her storytelling abilities. And I was thrilled with this world. So definitely a 4 for me.
I'm going to give it a 5. I am a sucker for contemporary Greek god stuff.
Okay.
I liked it. I like that he got a penthouse. I like that. I like that we were overworld, underworld, regulation world. Ooh, I liked
Also
it.
Cerberus.
Cerberus, yes.
Yeah,
Who's a good boy?
top 5.
Who's a good boy?
The best
I like
boy.
him too.
Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boys.
Oh yeah, definitely. Also, I like the relationship between Karen and Hades and Lyra, and I like that it was there. Like like I'm as old as Bud, and so I get to call him Phi, and that's what happens when buds are buds. I get to call him Phi, and so I like that kind of. Also, the idea that he's the odd man out, right? So these other 12 gods are like, oh, fuck, here he comes. Damn. All right, nobody look him in the eye. Maybe he'll go away kind of thing. and then he's like, yeah, I'm playing this year. And the danger mode just like locks into place. So like the threat level is high.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't like nobody's worried about Poseidon and the fish people coming. Like they're just like, everyone's like, oh God, he's the one we have to worry about. He's a little dicey and spicy. And I like it. Yes. So I was super into that. I also, I liked the relationship that kind of would have with Aphrodite, how that would kind of come out and come to play. And I know we have a little bit of extra information on Aphrodite, courtesy of Abigail Owen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, at one of the panels, she said that when they were like, who's your like the scariest villain?
Aphrodite.
And she was like, you're gonna think it's Hades, but it's Aphrodite.
Yeah. Well, because she told Zeus about Persephone. Did you get that at the end?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that was one of my gasps. That's one of my telenovela gasps at the end. I was like, no, she didn't. She told him.
Yeah.
Zeus knew because of her.
Yeah, she's a player.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. And so I would like to find out who his confidential informant is. And so we know that
the oracle.
We know one exists. Yeah, there's an oracle of some sort that exists, or maybe he traded a favor to the fates. I mean, we all watched that Disney movie where he's buddy with them gals,
True.
So I like to picture him wearing like skinny jeans and like a black lightweight black hoodie, but with like maybe it's got a little fringe around the maybe it's got thumb holes in it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's got like a
slightly
gray,
worn, slightly tattered.
Yeah, but still like high end. Like he bought it like that. He bought it worn. Like he didn't have to make it. And then he's got just really good. He's got like some high end shoes. Like they're shoes, but they're sneakers. You know what I mean? So I like that they were like the other gods were like, wow, he's got style. He's got class. That's how he became Hades. And then he's got but then they were like, let's give these people uniforms, and they will give her like some prison issue shit. And he was like, not gonna happen. You're gonna be badass and baller
because he knows the power of appearance, the power of that first impression, the power of the persona. Like that's his thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, what did you think?
So it's always interesting when an author tries to blend old gods into modern day, because you have the juxtaposition of high technology as well as the gods. So at what point would humanity no longer need the gods? That's always a good question in these types of scenarios. The whole idea of this thieves guild existing, but apparently more or less that the Thieves Guild is known to the public because nobody questioned, and there was no big, like, when they talked about Lyra being from the Thieves Guild, there was no big outcry in the newspaper. What Thieves Guild? What's all this about? Right? So apparently it's a known thing that there's a Thieves Guild. I mean,
like
okay.
The mafia.
Liked that the author did, like I said earlier, bring in, hint that there were other god pantheons that were involved in the world, which I always thought is an interesting concept, because if the Greek gods, if Zeus has so much power, if the Greek gods, whoever's the king of the gods, has so much power that they could destroy the world, essentially, then you would think that the other pantheon gods would be just as powerful to stop them. I mean, so if Hades goes on a bender and decides he's going to burn down the world, why aren't the Norse gods stopping him?
Is it like a Cold War situation where
Right.
they could all burn down the world?
I mean, certainly Odin could come down and put a stop to Zeus. I mean, it's like the classic question, who would kick whose ass, Odin or Zeus? So And then that's not even getting
clearly
into
it was Thor. That was answered in Love and Thunder.
Well, and that's not even getting into the numerous Asian deities who are just as powerful, as the Greek gods or the Roman gods or the Norse gods are. So, and then you get into like, well, what about Native American gods? Why is it that only the Greek gods are the ones that can possibly destroy the world? It seems to me like if Zeus's champion or whatever is going to do something horrible, or Zeus is going to do something horrible, he would easily have the other pantheons aligned against him. And it's like a Cold War situation.
Maybe that's what the other books will be about, more about like the other pantheons coming in. That would be amazing.
That would be a cool twist. I think for now, though, it just kind of sits around the Greek gods, like as far as being in control.
But I do want to add in real quick one more thing into the world building that I thought was that Abigail Owen did really, really good job. That A Dowry of Blood that we just read did not do. And that The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is very popular, also did not do. I think that this book did a good job of having people from different cultures, and you felt like the people were from these different cultures. Like they were, I can't remember everyone's name, but the German girl had some German references. The Korean kid had some Korean references. The Mexican guy had some Mexican, Spanish references. It felt like, even if it's just a teeny bit of taste, it felt like not everyone was just Americana because the author is American. Like it felt like she really brought in some flavor building of these different cultures.
She brought in accents in the audiobook too.
But it makes no sense. Why are Koreans worshiping Greek gods? Why are, South Americans and Mexicans worshiping Greek gods?
Well, if you have a modern world with internet and everything, then it's not so, it's more global. You know what I mean? It's not like it has to be just in the Greek area. It could be that whatever, there's been spread of that religion to other cultures. I don't know.
Yeah, sure, that's possible. I mean, religion can be spread, but the problem I have is that if all of the gods are real and you have Asian pantheons, as the author mentioned, then why would Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, why would they decide to worship gods outside of the ones that their ancestors worship? Because that is a very strong thing in Asian culture, is adherence to ancestor practices. I just do not see it happening.
The Greek gods won the war of gods.
I was just going to say, like, Zeus probably rolled up and shut it all down.
Zeus was like, this is my place. Yeah. The real question here is, why don't the Greek gods speak with Greek accents?
Well, I agree that maybe Zeus shut it all down, but that should have been a very important part of the world building, is that there was a war in the heavens between all the pantheons of gods and the Greek gods won. But that was never mentioned or even hinted at. So I have to presume that all the pantheons are powerful.
Like you wanted another 200 pages in this book.
Kelly needs a prequel. Abigail, write Kelly a prequel about how Zeus
for Kelly.
This has to be because they did speak about the war. But it was
a war between the Titans and the gods.
Yeah, it was the war within the Greek gods, not a war with other pantheons.
Collateral damage.
So the games, they may have covered it more further on in the book, but the games that they're holding to figure out the king of the gods, is that across all, or is it just for the Greek?
The Greek gods.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Romance. Summer, did you want to say anything about the romance aspect of it?
A little bit of an opinion. I wouldn't say romance. I would say right out the gate, there is an overwhelming feel of love just across the board. Like, she can't be loved, and he's got this supposed ache of like losing Persephone. Again, I wouldn't say that romance technically, but it's definitely heavily integrated.
I would say for me, the romance was a 4. And I say that because it was a very specifically Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, pining, the hand barely touching, that hand moment from the new Pride and Prejudice movie. It was that kind of a feel between them for me for the majority of it. It was a lot of pining, and I thought the pining was really well done. And then there was also some pretty major sacrifice that they did for each other. Yeah, I thought the romance was a 4 for me. I thought there were parts where I was questioning it. There was some miscommunication stuff. There's some stuff that happens that I'm just like, why'd he do that? And then 2 chapters later, oh, that's why he did that. Yeah, so I'd say 4 for romance for me.
I agree with a 4. I agree with the Pride and Prejudice. I agree that if anyone tells me right now that Mr. Darcy wasn't autistic, that I would call you crazy to your face, even though there's no faces right now, but I would do it. And so, not that I believe Hades is autistic presenting in the way that Mr. Darcy was, but I do think there is that I have been in my ways for so long. I don't know how to bend, right? But I know that I have to. I have to fix this. I have to find a way. I have to save her. I have to be with her. But also I have to follow my own plan. He's got to have all the things and he's got to have it now. And he's got to have it his way. And so I do think that there was a heavy romance feel throughout the whole book. I think it says so much, about a human, an actual human that was cursed to be unloved. And for her to have amassed the loyalty that she did in its place, and how she actually vibrated or exuded loyalty as well because of the thing that she lacked and always wanted. You could smell it throughout the whole book. And for that, I loved every second of it. You wanted it to be better for her. And even at some point, Jonathan was like, well, she was lied to, right? She wasn't cursed, but obviously she was. And for reasons in the final trial that it comes to, attention. But, in the same way that they had trouble throughout most of the series identifying what Hades' team theme was. I'm forgetting the word.
Virtue.
What Hades' virtue was, and it was survival, right? It ends up being survival, and she personifies that as well, right? Could any of us fully imagine going through life knowing that you couldn't be loved and not necessarily acknowledging the other emotions that you could receive as well? Man, how devastating.
Yeah, very lonely.
And kudos to her for being a decent fucking human in spite of it.
So much empathy. She had so much
all of
empathy.
it. She had all the empathy.
Ooh. Yeah.
All of it. So while there was romance between her and Hades, and a lot of it was tension, the relationship building that happens with the rest of the characters in spite of her, right? They didn't want to be her friend, and she just got up under their skin the way that Jane does with Mr. Darcy, right?
Yeah.
I loved it all.
Jonathan.
I'm going to give it a 4. I thought it was a polite, slow burn. And it felt from the very beginning at Zeus's temple. And that's, so when it made me question if the curse was real. The entire book, the entire middle of the book, I was like, there's no way this curse is real, because I can sort of feel this love burning between these two. And so I was like, okay. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4, maybe even a 4.5. I'm going to be bold, 4.5.
Okay.
Bold.
Good job.
I tried.
I feel like the romance in this book was pretty decent. It was a nice slow build up and burn to the end. I think the author did a good job of balancing the emotions back and forth, where you can see the conflict in Hades about getting involved and that sort of thing. So it was a pretty good romantic scenario. So yeah, I would say I'd give it a 4. I felt like it was definitely better than a lot of the romance elements in books we've read.
About spice, I think, Summer, you probably didn't really get to much of the spice where you're at.
No. I think we're still barely touching.
There's a lot of pining and flirting and whatnot. I think spice, happened 70% into the book. It's a ways in there. So for me, the spice was actually, I would say, a 4, and because it exceeded my expectations in terms of how well it was done. There's not a lot of spice, but the spice was well done. I think is appropriately placed for the plot of the story, and I think it worked with power dynamics. It worked with that she was the one who was like, hey, I'm just going to go into here naked. And you come if you want to come. And if not, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, it was all macho bravado on her end. Because she would have fallen to pieces had he rejected her. But I thought it was well done spice. So yeah, I'd say it was a 4 for me.
I think it was polite spice. I don't think there was a lot of detail. And that just might not be her jam, right? Abigail's jam. I think we get more spice out of someone like Rebecca Yarros. more detailed spice, forgive me. So I agree that it was sufficiently placed in the story. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't unthought of, it wasn't in a hurry. I thought it was adequate. I wasn't unhappy about it. I wasn't thrilled about it. I thought she could have done a little bit more. That might not be her jam, and to each their own. So it's a 3 for me.
For spice?
Yeah.
Ooh, spice. It was minimal. I'm going to give it a 2.5.
A 2.5?
2.5.
Killing your averages here.
Yeah, I figured. 2.5. The spice wasn't there. It took a long way for her. It took like 75% of the book to get to the
a lot
word
of
cock.
burning.
Yeah, it's a lot of burning. She got them quality discount extra long wicks. I'm looking for a firecracker. So I'm gonna give it a, what did I say I gave it?
2.5.
I'll give it
2.5.
2.5. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna stick with a 2.5.
Kelly?
So we had a long build up to the spice, and I felt like the long build up didn't really pay off as big as the build up to it was. So it felt like a little bit of a letdown in some degree. And that may just be the author's style. I'm trying to remember in the Dominion series how spicy it was.
It was not.
Yeah, I'm looking back at our review of The Liar's Crown, right? The Liar's Crown, and we didn't score the spice very highly on that book either. So, but what was there? I mean, I felt it was a good and polite description of events, but definitely not, I guess it wasn't what I was expecting as far as all of the build-up and hype to it.
I can see that. All right, the cover was done by the publishing team, the Red Tower design team. That's all I could find on it when she released the cover. The picture, that's all she said on it. Generally, we talk about the cover and whether it would have caught our attention and whether we think it's reflective of what was in the book. Do you have anything to say about that?
I think what was on the audiobook, I wouldn't say it gave anything. I can see it being an integral part. It played a part to like key elements of what were in it, but based off like the whole of the book, I wouldn't say it represented it very well.
Kind of what I think too. Like it's fine. The special edition book is pretty because it's got the covered, the sides or whatever, the pages painted. So it's pretty. But honestly, if I were walking past it, I would think it was like a fantasy battle book, like a war book. So for me, it's just maybe like a 3 or 2.5. 2.5, I would say, honestly. Jonathan? No, Ash. I'm sorry, Ash.
I love the cover. And I love the sprayed edges. I think maybe the sprayed edges have more to do with it than the cover. And it probably took me at least halfway through to recognize the relevancy of the cover versus the book. But 100% that cover is what made me buy the book. So I will rate this pretty high. I think it was a 4. I was very happy with it. And I thought the print inside the pages was also just lovely. I loved it a lot. I think it's far more relevant than a lot of the books that we've read, cover to story meaning. And I think we're gonna find out more about the relics in future stories. So I'm excited for that.
I agree. I'm going to give the cover a 5.
A 5.
A 5. I bought this book purely for the cover.
Yeah, he didn't
And
know
those
that I
sprayed
already
edges.
bought it, I think.
You got suckered in.
It is a pretty book. So couple things on here. One, when you get the dust jacket off, the beautiful dust jacket as it is, and you unveil just this like navy blue with a little bit of shininess on it. Thought that was cute. So what I will probably do is I will airbrush the fox, the panther, the tarantula, and the owl on the front, but on the back I want to reserve something a little bit special for the butterflies, because I think the butterfly is a little bit more significant, even though we don't have it's not a massive presence. It's just anchored.
We didn't even talk about the tattoos. Fuck.
Yeah. It was a good gift.
It's a cool little world building thing. Yeah. I love magical tattoos.
One thing that the cover does for me that I'd be keen to hear Kelly's thoughts on this. The relics, the axes on the front, it just screams fated mates to me, because she had this relic for years, right?
Out of the blue.
Out of the blue, it was just, no matter how she tried to get rid of it, it came back to her
without having like actually achieved something too.
Correct.
Was what she said.
Correct. It was sent to her by someone, something, somehow.
It was divine. Yeah.
It was divine. Yeah. And it's a Hades relic. So it just, for me, it's just giving off a whole bunch of these fated mates vibes. So I'd be keen to hear Kelly's opinion on that.
What do you think, Kelly?
So I only read the Kindle version, so of course I can't comment about the sprayed edges and other aspects of the cover, only the image that was provided for the Kindle version. And I thought it was pretty basic, like just looking at it, okay, you've got the 2 crossed axes and like some Greek ruins or something around, okay, but that's it. So nothing, I don't know, nothing that really tells you anything about what's going to happen in this book or what's even inside of it. I mean, for all we know, looking at the cover, if you were to just look at that cover and said the games gods play, I would not have picked Greek gods as the ones involved in this. I would have immediately thought of the Norse gods, because you don't think of the Greek gods when you see axes with intricate carvings on them. That seems to be very much a Norse, Icelandic type thing, Viking thing. So I don't know that I would have immediately jump to Greek gods, because while there is some famous axes involved in Greek mythology, like Labrys, which was the double-headed axe that Zeus had, I would not have picked that just because of the lower association of axes as weapons in Greek mythology. I don't think it was a very good cover in that aspect. As far as the quality of the artwork, it looked fine. So just based on would it have drawn me in, or would it represent what's actually in the book, I would say no, and I would just give it a 3.
Okay. Now the final question. Is it a kissing book? Would you say it's romantasy? Do you want to answer first, Summer?
So without knowing the rest of it, I think it is, personally.
I have been thinking about this back and forth like since yesterday. I finished it yesterday. I think it's not. I think there is romance in it. But I think that even without that romance, I think the story would still kind of happen the way it did. So, because I think he picked her because of the oracle or whatever. Maybe the oracle said it was her because of love. I don't know. But he picked her because of the oracle. She did what she was doing because she wanted to get the curse taken off. I don't know. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say not romantasy.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, romantasy. I think this goes back to even the axes, the relics, and her having one, and her coming across Hades in Zeus's temple. Like, none of these things make sense. I think he picked her because of the curse, and I think it evolved from there. I think if she had not fallen for him, she would not have pushed as hard or as long as she did to get him king of the gods. And I think if he had not fallen for her, she would have just died, and he would not have progressed in the trials. He needed her for the final trial, unequivocally, come hell or high water. That was the only way to win that trial. And I'm trying not to spoil it for the girls. And so I think while the intentions were very specific in him choosing her, I think he still fell along the way, because otherwise he just would have let her die and he would have been out this crucible and needed a different path. So for me, it's romantasy. The story could not have continued without the both of them having been in their feelings and fighting for each other, even in their shitty secret way. Husband?
To the calculator. So I plopped this one through the calculator. Plopped it right through. I
How's
just let it, just like plunked it down.
How's it coming for you?
It's coming. So it came out with a 50% score at the bottom of the calculator.
So now you have to go on vibes.
I got to go on vibes. And so the vibe that I'm electing to go on is I'm going to say TBD.
No, you gotta pick a side of the fence. That's what we do.
I know, right? This book has me in TBD zone. Like I genuinely threw it through the calculator, figuring that I would go, but it like hit a solid 50%. Here's why I'm going to say it's TBD, and this is where I think that Mari is maybe on the fence a little bit. We don't have enough information. I think we're at this point where the entire story could be impacted by their romance in the second book. And because that's where where the pain point is genuinely going to occur, and that's that transitional journey in the series. And I think that alone, because if I say no, it's not romantasy today, and based on purely on the idea that, yeah, sure, if you take her out of it, and because what happens? He doesn't. If you take her out of the story, he doesn't win. He's not going to win the Crucible at that point. And yeah, maybe he picked her because some oracle told him to pick her. That was the best way. That was the best pathway, the most logical pathway to win the Crucible. When you get to the next level, what he does next will determine if this book is romantasy for me or not. So how he reacts to that last page of the book is what's going to determine for me if this is romantasy. So either you take the TBD. Yeah, gotta take the TBD. That's all I'm going to offer at this point.
I don't think you can really give it a TBD, Jonathan.
What's that?
I don't think you can give it a TBD.
That's too bad. That's what you got. You got a TBD out of me.
I mean, I guess
you just take penicillin to get over it.
We're at least in a better position in that if the calculator doesn't rate it the way that he wants, then it's not at all. So we're making some progress here, guys.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm going to throw back in your face,
throw it in
because
my
not
face.
10 minutes, I'll
rub it on my chest.
it in your face.
Come on, let's go.
It's not 10 minutes ago we said relics equals fated mates, and now you're going to be like, I don't know if this is romantasy.
I don't know if it's romantasy.
I don't understand.
I need to see his reaction.
I don't understand.
The proof is in the pudding. I need to see the reaction. I need to know what Hades does next.
You just need to see him blow the gasket to change your mind.
If he blows the gasket, if he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm all in.
So
if he rolls up his fancy pants Aeropostale sweater sleeves with the fake thumb holes in there. They're really just buttonholes, but he can slide his thumb through it. If that's what he does.
You are wild.
Wild. I am wild. I am unruly.
You are unhinged.
I know, I'm not unhinged. I didn't shave my head.
So in the sake of fairness, if we took away that last jaw drop, then what would you rate it?
You mean like the last? Yeah. If we took that away, then no, it's not romantasy, but it's there. It exists. So I don't know now. It's confused me. It's blurred the line. I'm easily confused.
Jonathan's answer is like the little spooling symbol. Your answer is the little spooling symbol. You're just thinking.
That's right. I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's like a GeoCities. The page is loading. And
did this book break you?
It's like the blue screen of death.
Yeah.
The book is blue.
It broke your calculator.
I don't know if our next read is probably going to break the calculator. There's not enough. I mean, holy shit! I'm gonna have to take up religion after that.
Just wait.
Oh my god. So yeah, like I don't know if this book broke me, but it made me. This is probably the first one. I don't know. This isn't the first one that makes me want to read more.
Kelly?
So I had to say this is not romantasy. And the reason I say it's not romantasy is because the whole Hades did not have any intention of falling in love with her. And although that happened, the romance was not essential to the plot, which was her winning the game. And in fact, I would say that the romance could even was a detriment to her win, because he didn't need her to be in love with him. He needed her to win. He needed her to remain unlovable in order to win. So had she not fallen in love with him, he still would have continued to use her to win the games.
Yeah. And I plus I think she was all about trying to save everybody. She was very loyal to her friends, wanting everyone to stay alive. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Like I still say no. That's my answer. But I can see how it goes either way. All right. Anything else about that book before we go to our special guests? All right. So, Summer and Becky, tell me once again the name of your company.
It's Summer Reading Creations.
And what is it?
It is, I don't know how to say it without, because there is a bigger company that actually does something specific. So it's like adjacent to that, but it's basically a mystery book. It's like blindly wrapped, essentially. I'm just going to say it's a blind date with a book.
Yeah, that's how I've been describing it to people. And
right.
I'm like, hey, I saw this company. They
So
do blind dates with books.
I don't like to advertise it like that because there is a company called Blind Date with a Book. They don't do what we do.
Yeah.
It's just a blank book. But it is the concept, and that's the original creator of the idea. So I don't want to advertise it as that, but it's so difficult to explain it without saying that.
It's a gift to yourself.
It is.
Because you don't know what's in it.
Right.
So I'm going to describe what I saw as a customer of theirs. Like I walked up and there's a table and there's all these books with really pretty, like almost origami Japanese style, like wrapping on it with little like pockets in the front. And in the pockets there were there were I'm trying to remember now. There were like two different kinds. There was like a black base because it was Halloween. And then there was like brown wrapping. And then they had like different things stuck in the little pockets. So like tea or coffee things or like bookmarks or little stickers and little things like that sticking out of them. And then there was a tag on each package. And it would be like romantasy, I don't know, I remember what else. Romantasy, blah, blah, blah. 3.5 or 4.0 rating on Goodreads. And so you're picking a book. And I will say the whole blind date with a book thing I first saw in Meet Cute bookstore in San Diego. It's a romance bookstore, and that was the first time I'd ever seen or heard of that. I went in, I saw some cool stuff they had, and in the very back they had blind date with a book. And it was plain, just brown package, just plainly wrapped. And it just had like a little label on it that said, a date with a skirted kilt man or something, kilted skirt, whatever, a kilted Irishman, Scottishman, something. I don't remember, but that's the one I got. And I mean, it wasn't even that great of a book, but the concept was cool. Like it was fun. So I've always called it that because the first time I ever saw it, that's how it was described. But it's like a gift you're buying yourself. And you don't know what it is. Just like when you give someone a gift, they don't know what it is. Obviously, it's a book, but you don't know what you're getting. So other than randomly walking up to you at like a fall festival, how would people find you? Like, where would they get it?
So Etsy is a good one. We just started out on Etsy. Our website is the main place. It's summerreadingcreations.shop. Facebook we do a lot of. We are tentatively on TikTok shop, but for the most part, I would say Etsy or the website are the best two places.
I would say stuff like this I think about for the holidays, for like people who like books, or you would want to get into books. You know how people will do like for Christmas, they'll get like lottery tickets for stocking stuffers or for their family or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a cool way to do kind of like a random surprise gift for someone without necessarily picking a specific book.
We actually have a Christmas collection coming out. They're going to be really cute wrapped in Christmas wrapping papers.
Real quick, is it summerreadingcreations.shop or summerreading.shop?
It is summerreading.shop. You're right. Summerreading.shop. I get that confused a lot. Everything else is creations.
I'm on this website. I'm like, oh man, am I on the wrong website? So I started Googling stuff.
We started with summer readings and then quickly found out that leads you into a whole line of like after school programs.
Oh, yeah.
So we added creations later on.
How long have you guys been around?
I opened in July, and honestly, it was just kind of a craft. We talked about earlier, my whole house is neurodivergent, so there's just a slew of dead projects everywhere. And so this was one of those that I picked up and assumed that would be put down, and just hasn't.
Surprise.
Right.
Could you imagine if like my mess and your mess met? It would just like an anomaly would open up. Face. It looks very cute. Like what hits me here is, so I'm not a mystery. I want to know what I'm getting. Right. It's like all my belongings. I need to see all my belongings at the same time. It's very difficult. I wrestled this morning over throwing out a broken, like the equivalent of a broken watch. I was like, well, maybe I can just save this half. And like, I know I'm not going to use it. Right. So like, but I have to see it at all times. Like I got to put this in a clear bag, and it has to be like one of those toy bins that you get for like kids so they can see their toys at all times. Like that's how I have to see my stuff. I don't even have a dresser. I have like a no fold system where I can see my clothing at all times. Right. So like a mystery, the idea of something mysterious to me, no, it's like I don't do scratch offs because I don't know, right? But my wife is the opposite. she'll be like, she'll go somewhere. She'll be like, I'm looking for this specific item. And they'll be like, we have that, but we also have this thing that is very much not likely going to be the item that you came here for, but it's a mystery. It could be. And then she's like, I'll take the mystery. You know what? Give me 4. You know, like that's who she is.
It's a delightful treat.
So what this says to me is like, if you're out there looking for a gift to give somebody, like this is a super duper easy reading book lover funsy gift that if I'm just going to order it online, it's already coming fucking wrapped. It comes with all these little trinkets and little things with it. Is that food? Is there like food in there? I'm looking at one. I can't tell what's in this pocket here. It looks like a back scratcher and some food.
That's actually a pen.
Oh,
but it's tea. You could do iced coffee, hot coffee, teas, and hot chocolate.
See, I'm liking that. And so like, it's like you're giving this, I'm telling you, like, if we don't find somebody to gift a book to this holiday season, we don't have no friends. But like everywhere else you go, you have to pay for this extra wrapping. So to me, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing a gift giving bargain.
Mm-hmm. You know what you call that?
What?
We're coming full circle, guys. Wait for it. A sucker pack.
Oh, it's a sucker pack. Sign me up.
I like it.
We're good with sucker packs.
Yeah, no, we are full pro sucker pack in this house. We love a deal.
And see, we're going to have a kids collection too soon.
What's that?
Oh, that could be good. A kids collection.
Oh, I like it.
It'll be coming soon.
I'm a big fan of Dr. Seuss.
What I think I like about it, as far as for a gift idea, I'm a gift giver. And so it takes kind of the work out of it for you, but it doesn't take the impersonalization out of it, because you can still customize the genre that you think they would like, or the beverage that you think they would like, or the color combinations. So it's still a personal gift, but also it took a lot of the work out of it for you.
Yeah. And you get a little bit of surprise, like with the person. So then you can be like, hey, what was it? And you have something to talk about. I'm all about an experience. Like I love giving experiences and getting experiences. So like, tickets to things, to movies or to events or to shows or whatever. So this in a way is an experience. It's a thing too, but it's an experience, because then you can be like, hey, what was it? And then like, hey, maybe we should read it together. Yeah. Yeah. The books, where do you guys get the books? Like, is it used books? Is it new books?
So I would say 80% of them are used or re-owned. A lot of them actually come, Becky will source the local libraries. And what are the boxes that you search?
Well, you mean like when we go to like
the neighborhoods?
Oh, the free library.
Yeah, we were working with a local business in Lake Park. However, with the hurricane, they lost a lot of their inventory. But they do that. They buy books from like closed libraries and stuff, and they'll repurpose them. So a lot of them, 80% of them roughly, are reused from like local, or we found a vendor online that does that as well. However, to keep up with demand, there are a small percentage of the books that do come from bigger stores. We really try to stay away from like the big market stores. It's almost not possible to just completely steer clear of it. When we do, it's never going to be a brand new, like, book 2024. Book talk book. It's never going to be one of those. So we really research them to make sure that you're getting like a dated, it's like an adventure. Like you want something that you're not just going to go to the bookstore and pick up.
And that not everybody's talking about.
Right.
It's always nice because like I've read some really good books this year that were not new this year. They're not, some of them are like a decade old, and I read The Goblin Emperor this year, which I don't know if I've heard I've talked to you guys about, but I've talked to everybody else in the world, it feels like, about it. It's like, I think it was 2015 or something. I don't know. It was published a little bit ago. Not a romantasy book. It's like pure fantasy. So good. So good. But you're not going to see that on TikTok.
And see, that's the point. We were actually, I think the start of this was searching those bookstores and just finding all of these that were just ridiculous prices and discarded, but they're good books. We read Dark Things I Adore.
Oh, that's one of my top 5 reasons.
Yeah,
such a good book.
But it was, I think we paid $1 for it because it was just discarded, and both of us were like, why? This is so good.
I love the whole like environmental aspect of reusing, because there's nothing wrong with the book. Like if you've read it, doesn't mean somebody else can't read it. It's not like it's been used up. You know what I mean? Like if it's not one that you want to keep and reread or treasure or whatever, pass it on. And this is a cool way to pass it on to somebody, to recirculate these used books that are out there to someone who might not have otherwise known about them or picked them up.
When we get like some of the books, they're not aesthetically pleasing. You don't have like the crisp white pages, but that's kind of the fun of it too. I like an older book. It's not going to be tattered and ripped on the seams or anything, but you're going to have a feel to it.
It's got personality. It's seen some stuff.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say, or anything else you guys want to ask them?
Kudos to you for going with some previously enjoyed books. Like I'm a fan of maybe not to the extent of book restoration, but I do like to breathe a little bit more life into them. It's 100% possible to crisp up those edges and to give it some new personality. So it's one of my favorite
those hobbies
now. Again, is playing with some recovering and some airbrushing lately. But yeah, I'll harass you a little bit. Don't worry. But yeah, I oftentimes, and I do, I buy, I'll go on and buy like a bunch of used books. It's just, you're right. It gives it new life. And it's a very creative way to gift. I think books are like records. If they're not, you can use them and gift, and just passing them along is just a kind way to say, I was thinking about you.
It's good to refresh and bring you back to an actual book.
And having you guys, Jonathan and Ash, living in Florida and us living here in Georgia and having just been through some hurricanes, it's nice to have some entertainment that you don't have to plug in.
I actually did a tear read.
I read a book about nature fighting back during the hurricane. Did not plan to do it. I'm like, oh, this is getting a little real here. It was good, but it was a little real. It was a Sarah. I'll tell you in a second what it was. Give me 1 second and thank you. List here.
Is it Sarah with an H?
I can see the cover.
Without an
I can't
H?
think of the name. It was Sarah Beth Durst, who wrote The Spell Shop. It was the Queen of Blood, her Queens of Renthia series. Yeah, it was like an enchanted forest kind of thing that fights back.
Oh.
Fights back, like kills people, and like the hurricane's going on. I'm like,
oh man, bad timing.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before I do the little outro? Would you guys like to come back and be with us sometime? Like, actually give you time to read the book and do something with us? I think that'd be fun. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to read the outro unless anybody has anything to say.
I just want to say the podcast in general. The episode where you guys dissed the mummy made me want.
All right, so thanks for listening to Of Swords and Soulmates. Before we go, make sure to check out the show notes, rate, review, and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. It helps others to find us. Follow us on Instagram at Of Swords and Soulmates, or join our Facebook page at Of Swords and Soulmates, or check out our website, ofswordsandsoulmates.com. And we're available on YouTube, TikTok, and now Pinterest. If you want to look at some of these funky covers we're talking about, follow us on there. If you'd like to offer suggestions for a future rapid-fire question, reach out to us on those options, social media, or on email at mari@soulmates.com. If you want to read along with us as we prepare for a new episode, you can follow us on Goodreads at Of Swords and Soulmates. Or if you want the chapter-by-chapter interaction and breakdown as I do my telenovela gasps, you can join our book club on Fable. We have a Of Swords and Soulmates book club on the Fable app. We hope you'll join us in 2 weeks for our next episode when we will have a different special guest star, the Hissin' and Kissin' podcast crew. And we will read and talk about Morning Glory Lyceum Miss Costa.